Let's go to Judge Andrew Napolitano on this and this national emergency issue. How do you improve that case, Judge?
Very difficult for him to do so. The Congress in 1976, in the National Emergency Act, defined an emergency. I'll give the definition in a minute because the definition was refined slightly by the courts shortly thereafter. But basically, it means a truly extraordinary state of events, which creates an immediate and palpable threat to life, property, and safety, and which cannot be addressed by the employment of ordinary government assets or the exercise of ordinary government power. That's a very, very high bar. And even if the emergency is declared, and even if it is not interfered with by the court, it doesn't allow the president to do anything that the Constitution prohibits, and it doesn't permit him to avoid doing anything that the Constitution requires. So what does the Constitution require? It requires that all federal expenditures be authorized by Congress. Question: can the president take money budgeted in column A and move it to column B, where B is not budgeted? Answer: no. Question: can the president spend money that the Congress hasn't authorized? He cannot. Can the president build a fence or a wall or a doghouse on private property without exercising eminent domain authorized by the Congress? Answer: no. So he's pretty much, in my view, on very thin ice if he were to offer the declaration that he talked about the other day outside the White House.
How compelling does the emergency have to be, Judge? In other words, it was fairly self-evident in the middle of the Depression when FDR took over and we were going into an economic and market freefall that he was going to declare a bank holiday. A lot of people said that's an overreach, but he had the sort of the wind at his back of a national emergency. You could argue the same after 9/11. Broad powers that I know you were concerned about that President Bush had used to declare taking sweeping executive action. Those were a bit more obvious, I would think, than something like this, but maybe I'm missing.
Well, if this is a true emergency, the president's people must first determine how they would address it without the declaration of emergency, because emergency means there's no ordinary means to address it. Is there enough military to go down there and stop people from coming over? Are they still coming over? What happened to the caravan? Where did it go? Well, they're now being housed in Mexico and being processed orderly into the United States. So has the emergency abated? These are the types
of... The number of illegal crossings is down to a 6-7 year low right now.
Right.
So you can't make that argument.
The president's going to have to address these tonight, because if he does declare an emergency, you notably challenged immediately, and the courts will force the Department of Justice lawyers who are representing him to address this.
Then when they are forcing him to address it, or they're forced to address it, and he proceeds to, let's say tomorrow morning, if he declares such an emergency, they start moving on this wall or whatever. Can a judge who slaps it down mean that stops the building?
In my opinion, yes. And in my opinion, it would be stopped almost immediately. It is almost on all fours with what President Truman attempted to do in 1952. We're fighting the Korean War, and the United Steelworkers of America goes on strike. They shut down every steel mill in the United States, and Truman couldn't get military material to troops in the battlefield. He seized the steel mills by executive order. He directed his Secretary of Commerce to hire people to operate the steel mills. Supreme Court stopped him in a week and said, you can't spend money without Congress authorizing it, and you can't take over private property without Congress authorizing it, no matter what the emergency is. So that's the model for the court's decision. It's an old decision. Well, old for some of us, 1952, but it's still the law, and the president needs to be guided by it.
Steel thing. Couldn't you also go the JFK bully pulpit route, as he did with steel, when they were announcing a hike in their prices and using the bully pulpit of the presidency, just embarrass them, shame them into saying you can't do this, you shouldn't do this, and of the nation's interest, you can't do this, and they rescinded it.
That is where I agree fully with your two previous guests. Look, there's a problem with immigration. I've read the immigration laws. You can tell which parts were written in 1920 and which parts are written in 1940 and which parts were written under Reagan in 1986. And a lot of them are inconsistent. The whole system needs to be revised. We need a great national debate led by the president, not with a gun to people's head. The government's going to collapse if we don't do this. Recognizing all the immigration problems and resolving them. I don't think if the president pushes that theme tonight, I think he'll have a lot of public support behind
But
it.
every president since Ronald Reagan, at least, and going back even further technically, has sought this grand bargain to avoid this. The King of Eight, that was very popular with the late, great John McCain, to try to come to a middle ground.
Hasn't happened.
And it never, ever happened.
The last time it happened, you alluded to it earlier, was Romano Mazzoli, the congressman from Kentucky, and Ronald Reagan in 1986. Some people say it didn't have a happy ending because it basically gave amnesty to everybody that was here. That's the last time we seriously addressed immigration. But we did not look at all the statutes on the books that preceded that, some of which the president is finding great difficulty in enforcing.
And no one shut the government down.
No one wants the government. Well, even libertarians realize government does do some legitimate things.
Now and then. Judge, thank you very, very much. Again,